All right, salt on a carnivore diet. Do you need it? Do you not need it? What's the story on this? So let's talk about a little bit about the history of this and get some perspective on here. And so there are people out there saying that, salt is something you should not consume on a carnivore diet, and perhaps it's even deleterious. Where does that come from? And what is the reality, or at least an opinion on the reality of this? And so I think that goes back to a long time ago. There's a guy named Owsley Stanley, who was often known as the Bear. He was, I guess, a sound guy for the Grateful Dead, and this is back in the 1960s where he decided to go on a carnivorous diet. He was one of the first, I guess, modern proponents of that, and he based that probably on some of the work that Stefansson had done. He ended up dying at age, I think, 77 in a car wreck in Australia. So he'd been on the diet something like 50 years. And one of the things he thought was salt was actually a poison, that we should not be consuming salt, and there's all kinds of problems with that. And certainly you can find advocates on that, in the sort of conventional nutritional world, where they'll say salt consumption is associated with all kinds of negative outcomes. Or there was myself and Paul Saladino and Anthony Chaffee and Dr. Costa. There were the people talking about this for a long, long time. And one of the proponents of the sort of the lower salt or no salt approach is someone called Amber O'Hearn, who's very insightful and has been doing this for a long time. And there are indeed a lot of longer term carnivores that don't use added salt. And this is a very important part. Meat has salt in it. Beef by itself, unsalted, still has salt in it. There's still sodium, there's still chloride, there's still potassium, there's still calcium, so on and so forth. So you're getting salt when you consume a steak, whether you add it or not. And the question is, why would someone want to add it? Why should somebody avoid adding it? And so I think there are some unique differences in the people that, maybe prefer salt versus those that do not. Now, first of all, full disclosure, I use salt on my meat. Sometimes I'll take an electrolyte. And the reason I tend to prefer that is, one, I think I enjoy it. I think it tastes better. That's just, for me, that's the way it is. Now, the other thing is I work out a lot and I sweat a lot. And so it's undeniable that you lose electrolytes when you sweat. I mean, that's clearly known, and people that sweat a lot probably are going to need to figure out how to maintain their electrolytes. And so now I will say there are some people within the no salt community that are athletes that do that. There's got Charles Washington, I think, runs marathons without. I think currently he's not salting, although I haven't heard from him in several years. But there is unequivocal data showing that for athletic performance, there are some benefits to providing adequate, fluid hydration and electrolytes. That's pretty clear. I think that the evidence to support that is quite robust. However, what about this concept that salt is toxic and causing poison to people? Well, again, you can look at the associative data and showing that people that are on high salt diets, and often you can equate high salt diets to high processed food diets, because the reality is most people get most of their salt from processed foods. So it's hard to disentangle those two entities. But like one of the things that some people will say is, one of the more common quote unquote side effects of a carnivore diet can be things like loose stools, diarrhea, things like that. Some people have seen improvements by actually removing salt from the diet. Remember, one of the functions of our colon is to deal with mineral absorption, all right, or reabsorption, I should say. And so that somehow plays a role in that effect. They're trying to lose weight. Well, salt tends to act as an appetite stimulant. I know it does for me. I eat more when I salt my food. When I don't salt my food, which I don't do very much because I like to eat a lot because I'm a big guy that's working out, is trying to put on muscle and size, so I tend to do that, and it helps me to be able to eat enough. But anyway, I think the jury is still out on salt, good or bad. I think we just don't know for sure. I think, certainly you can make the argument that people that exercise heavily, that sweat a lot, could probably benefit from some additional salt. Let me know what you guys think. Do you guys salt your food? Do you not salt your food? What has been the net effect of that? Do you get cramps if you don't salt? Do you get cramps if you do salt? Do you feel like you have more digestive issues with or without salt? So it'd be interesting to hear from you guys, because honestly, we just don't know. We don't really know the full answer to this. I know people have an opinion on that, as do I. But again, opinions are like, everyone's got one. So anyway, let me know what you guys think.